righty. We're going to call this meeting to order. This is the September 4th, 2019 meeting for the Site and Architectural Commission for the City of Monte Sereno. Jeannie, do you want to do roll call?
Commissioner Harrington? Here. Commissioner Kroc?
Here.
Commissioner White?
Here.
Chairperson Wade?
Here.
Just to note, all commissioners are here, and also to note that Commissioner Lesniak did resign from the commission effective August due to just family commitments and stuff like that. So all four commissioners are here.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. If you could silence your cell phones, please, that would be appreciated. Jeannie, why don't you start us off with orders of the day?
Oh, it's already silenced.
Everything is a go on the agenda as noticed, so no change in orders of the day.
Okay. At this point, it's an opportunity for people to comment on anything that is not on the agenda, if you would. You have a 3-minute limit. Anybody can come up to the podium, introduce themselves, and say whatever they want. Again, this is not for things that are on the agenda. Any takers? Negative. Okay, we'll move on. I guess the next thing is approval of the minutes from the July 3rd meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes as written.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those not in favor? Okay, the ayes have it 4-0. The July 3rd meeting minutes are approved. Next up, moving right along, are the public hearings. We have 6 things on the agenda this evening. I guess we'll just start off with number 1. Jeannie, do you want to introduce that and give us a brief summary?
Yeah, the first application before you is a tree removal request for 15989 Grandview Avenue. Property owner is requesting to remove 3 redwood trees that are on the east side of their tennis court, kind of south of the house. They're planted in a very constrained area and are don't really have any more room to grow. The roots have, one of the lower ones have intruded into the garage slab. There was another one on the other side of a walkway which has already fallen down. Extensive damage to the tennis court, and you can see by the pictures they're really they've outgrown the location in which they were planted. There are several trees on this property, both in the front area and throughout the property. I think we included pictures that would show you, even with those removed, there'd be sufficient tree growth along the street, so it shouldn't really impact the streetscape of Grandview Avenue. The property owners are here, and if they're willing to talk. With that, I'm available for any questions.
I don't have any.
I have none.
Would the applicant or applicant's representative like to come up and say anything on this?
So I'm Allison Zeidler. This is my husband, Clayton Zeidler. We have 2 little girls. They're at Fisher in 6th grade and Dave's in 3rd grade. So we love trees. Before we lived here, we lived in Saratoga. We bought the house we bought in Monte Sereno because there are a lot of trees. It's beautiful. It was overplanted. We have about 45 mature trees. There are 12 redwoods in the front. More redwoods in the back, other mature, pines, acacias, oaks. We have pretty much every tree that folks around here have. But these 3, unfortunately, are just planted really in a very small wedge. the arborist that first came out said it's basically like they're planted in pots, and redwoods get huge. So you have an arborist letter there that identifies the problems he saw with them. As Jeannie said, she summarized it well. There was a fourth one in the same area that fell on the house. There was the existing three. One of the roots went under the garage and raised the garage floor so much the previous owner had to basically demo the garage floor. And there's a picture in there of the rubble from that, and he fixed it. So they continue to basically break everything around them, and we're afraid they'll fall in the house. I can answer any questions, and I have more pictures also. And they also threaten a very large retaining wall beyond everything we previously described. Thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, no questions.
Anybody?
I
questions?
have absolutely no questions.
No.
Anybody else want to come up and say anything on this? Okay. I went out there and looked at it. Those things are squeezed in there. The downhill one is like somehow standing. I don't quite know how, but it looks precarious at best, and obviously they don't fit there. There's just no room. So, questions to this?
Yeah, I don't either. I went out there as well. I mean, they're just going to start lifting up that tennis court and
Yeah.
causing more and more trouble as they get even larger.
So
And they have plenty of trees.
I move to approve as submitted.
Second?
Or, I'm sorry, did you have anything to say?
I wanted a second. That's really what I wanted to say.
Okay, so let's vote on it. All those in favor of approving the removal of these three trees as proposed,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Negative? I'm aye also. So the commission approves this 4-0.
Awesome.
Job on the pictures.
Yes, picture's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, cruising right along to number 2. Jeannie.
Okay, the second application you have before you is also a tree removal request for 17348 East Vineland. And this is to remove a valley oak. This actually was planted, so it's not natural in its location. And it's, from the picture in your packet, you can see that it really doesn't have a very, typical growth. It's probably due to where it's planted and whatnot. So the property owner is proposing to remove it. It would also allow for some economic development of that rear area of the site also. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
No question.
There's nobody here.
Is there any is the applicant
The applicant's
here?
here,
Yes,
sorry.
there he is, right there. Would you like
Did
to
you
come
want
up?
to say anything?
Would you
I
like
can talk about it if you like.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Sure.
I have nothing prepared. Yeah, this tree was put in by the previous owner about 8-10 years ago. My neighbor, on the first day I arrived, came around and said, please, this tree was planted by Gary 10 years ago. It was a horrible looking tree when he put it in the ground. It's continued to be a horrible looking tree. I think it was just dug up at another property and then put in the ground. It's been put in right against the boundary on the back, kind of ruins the view from the house. Isn't a nice looking tree. It's diseased. It's misshapen. And I'd like to see whether or not I'll need to take account of it in any economic development of the back for an ADU. Okay.
I have a question. Did Gary Schlow personally plant this tree?
He personally planted it. He took it from another house, carried it round, dug a hole and put it in. I think maybe he was trying to annoy someone or something like that.
Addictive planting.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No, okay. All looked at it, right?
We all looked at it. I found it
By this
out
tree
of
all the time.
context.
And it didn't look happy either.
No, it doesn't look happy.
So I propose that we approve the removal of this valley oak. I see on here he's got replacement trees, citrus, persimmon, pear tree, as a side note.
Oh, okay.
But I vote that we approve it
It's
as
just kind of hanging out there by itself, and it
presented.
doesn't look good, so. Anyways, you made the motion, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone want a
Anybody wants to
second?
comment?
I'll second, sure.
Who wants to second?
I'm really into seconds.
All right. So putting it up for vote, all those in favor of the proposed tree removal as stated here, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Obviously, there's no nays, so that passes 4-0. Should be good to go.
All right.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's that one, that one. So, number 3 on the agenda, 15005 Carl Avenue.
Yeah, you guys.
You're welcome to stay
Yeah,
for the
you don't have to stay for
entertainment.
the whole
Yeah.
meeting.
Thank you, yeah, look good.
Thanks.
Okay, so the next application before you is yet another tree removal request. It's for 15005 Carl Avenue. This request is to remove an oak tree that is actually within, adjacent to an existing private right-of-way easement, and that right-of-way needs to be called in to expand the existing Carl Avenue at that point to accommodate fire access to the end of Carl Avenue to serve a couple new homes. It was a condition of approval for a new home that went through the county approval process.
The widening was?
The road.
The widening of that right-of-way was a condition by the county fire, for that new home that went up. So I think, the exhibit in here shows you where that tree was. And again, I think we kind of fleshed out that whole right-of-way issue with the last proposal that came to you for the fence and whatnot, to make sure that those were not encroaching into the right-of-way, knowing that this was going to be coming down the line. And clearly, if you've been out there, there's no real way to save that oak tree. So with that, I'm available for any questions, and the representative or key person behind this request is in the audience. Although it is submitted by the Against Goes, again, it's being supported by the person who was conditioned to improve the right-of-way.
Okay, I have a question for you, just on the exhibit. So the dashed line is representing where they're widening the street to?
I think that the dashed line shows the edge of that right-of-way.
It's a
Okay.
20-foot right-of-way.
Yeah, and I think the condition is at a minimum there be 18 feet of pavement. 18 feet. Yeah, so however that's going to fall, within that area. You can see it's wowed out beyond in some areas, but we're just looking at that one area that he's got to get 18 feet of pavement within there.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
No, not for me.
Okay. Would the applicant like to come up and speak?
Hi, I'm Lance Goodell. I live at 14801 Carl, and it was kind of instigated when we got our home approved at the end of Carl Road by Santa Clara County. One of the big hurdles was Santa Clara County Fire Department, and what they're requiring is, and I included one of their little blurbs there on their requirement on the road widths. It's 18 feet of pavement and 2 feet of gravel. They want a 20-foot wide easement for fire access. And so that's actually how Carl was set up. It's 20 feet wide easement, and the tree in question, that easement line basically splits the tree in half. Plus the grade level is 18 to 24 inches below the elevation the tree is planted at right now. So even if you could leave the tree, which you really can't, you're going to be undermining it by almost 2 feet, 18 inches, 24 inches. So there's not really much choice, in my opinion. It's blocking the right-of-way. A lot of the neighbors who also have the same easement we have are here in support. And it also, if you went out and saw it, it creates a choke point. And to me, it's with all the stuff we've seen the last couple of years with fires, you know, it's important we get out and the fire trucks get in case there's a fire. So, I mean, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I don't know, Paul, if you wanted to say anything.
I did
Yeah, I have
receive a
little
couple,
cards here. I'll ask
Okay,
additional
okay.
speakers to come up.
All right.
and
Yeah.
there are a
Yeah.
couple
Letters. we got,
letters of
and emails.
support that I've
Right,
put in
so
front of
Yeah, we
you.
saw 'em.
Yep. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Okay, so we have some speaker cards here for some other members in the audience that would like to speak on this item. First up is Barry Bialik.
Hello, I'm Barry Bialik. I live at 14900 Carl Avenue, same street. I was just wondering if, before I spoke, is there any support for keeping the tree on the council?
Personally?
We're here to
Really just to take
listen to
comments from
take
everybody,
comments.
then we deliberate, and then
Okay, because you know, I'd like to respond, you know, to you know, if there is support, I would want to respond. But all right, be that as it may. One thing I wanted to add to what Lance said is,
Could back up just a little.
whoops, that's me, huh?
That was you, sorry. Because this gets recorded.
What I wanted to say is we're on a dead-end street, so that is a choke point for us. We have to go out that way. So it really is important that the fire trucks have access. We've put in all sorts of hydrants in the last 5 years. We're doing what the county wants. Most of us here have oaks growing wild on the property. I have at least 4 or 5 that have grown up to 30 feet in the time that we've been there. We like oaks. This is just a safety issue, and that's all. It isn't the aesthetics. And I know the Gretzkows are willing to put in another plant, another tree elsewhere to make up for that. It's, I mean, it just doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't make any sense to keep it. That's all. I'll keep it to that.
Great.
And that's on behalf of my wife and myself.
Very good.
Thank you. both of you.
I also have a card here for Navida Elahi. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Navida Ilahi. I am on 14915 Carl Avenue. There's one house between mine and their property, and that tree should really go. It's jutting out right now, and since we don't have street lights also in Monte Sereno at nighttime, actually somebody could run into it if we leave it there, you know, with the and the roots are already exposed. It's not going to last. It's going to fall anyway. It's an eyesore, and we should really want to cut that tree down. We really don't need it there. They have plenty of trees on their property. There's 2 very nice ones behind that one that are not encroaching any of the street or anything. So we're really not going to gain much by keeping it there, and I vote to have that tree. You guys, I would like you guys to vote to cut that tree down, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Just FYI, we're not going to cut that tree. Thank you very much. Anybody else on this?
My name is Paul Jonskow. We live at, we don't currently live at the house that's under construction right now, but when you gave us the building permit 3.5 years ago, one of the items that we spent a lot of time with the neighbors was really talking about that really tight corner that leads to the dead end, and we promised them that we would try to, clean that up. But what we didn't realize is that, because the property had, from a planting standpoint, really there's about 6 feet that's in the middle of the road. And so as we move that back, we realize that the oak tree really sits in the middle of the road, and it's a safety hazard in terms of getting any kind of public vehicle back there. So Barbara and I would also ask that we be able to remove the tree, and we're happy to plant other trees if that's necessary.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I don't want this to seem like piling on, but Dave Ferrari, 15065 Carl, so a couple doors down from us. But the tree's a hazard, and I think the city would be taking on liability if they didn't vote in favor of taking this out, because if somebody's driving fast at night, there are no street lights. You know, sometimes kids go down the street, and somebody could plow right into the thing because it really stands out. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, is that it? Anybody else? All right.
No, I'm going to say something.
Okay, absolutely, come on up.
I wasn't going to. Okay. Hi, Jeannie.
I owe you.
Sorry, I'm Linda Graham, 14980 Carl and 15022 Carl. And as my husband and I found out before the Jenskows bought the property, is we own the road. The city doesn't own the road, we do. So technically, the tree is on my road and their property, and I'm happy to get rid of the tree. Because as everyone's spoken, it is a hazard. It's kind of tipping over, and it's not that great a shape, and so I'm hoping that you guys agree with me. Thank you.
So if it's a private road, can't they just take it out and just, no?
Because it's not in the road now, because the road is so narrow.
We have regulatory purview over
Right,
private
and
property.
they do, because the city tells us, thank you, Jeannie, what trees we can take out, if they're a hazard or not. Like I took out all my eucalyptus, thank you. And because they were a hazard, they were hitting my property, my gazebo, my fence, and the next one would have taken out my house. So I don't want this to be an issue. Questions? Okay.
She's got answers.
Okay. All right. Is that about sums it up? Good. So we all looked at it. I don't find it a
Yeah, I think they
particularly
made a
special
good
tree.
case, yep.
If they have to cut down to level the road to extend it right up against there, it's going to pretty much
Kill it anyway.
mess the road, doom it.
And
So-
just as a reminder from all the previous approvals that the Jenskows have, now that I know how to pronounce your name, I apologize for mispronouncing it earlier. There is more than sufficient replacement trees coming as a result of all the other.
I was going
On the
to
So-
landscaping.
point that
Yeah.
out too, because I remember you guys put a lot of time and effort into your landscape plan.
Staff is not recommending replacement.
So I move to accept the application as submitted.
I second it.
Well
All in
done.
favor?
Aye.
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 Ayes have it, 4-0.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah. Should have a little tree cutting party.
Tree cutting, firewood.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you guys. Thanks for coming.
Carl Avenue neighbors, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we lose half our room?
I know, you guys don't want to
Stick around. It's going to get fun.
Oh.
All that over one tree. These guys are fun.
All right. Item 4 on the agenda is 16189 Greenwood Road. Jeannie.
Okay, so now on to the real applications. Now that all the trees are gone.
All the trees, yeah. Now that we have no more trees in town.
Yeah. So what's before you is basically a tear down and a rebuild at 16189 Greenwood Road. And if you've been out to that site, as you drive out there, this is a severely sloping lot down to Greenwood Lane.
Don't
So
go
you-
out there in heels.
No,
It was kind of,
I made that mistake too.
Animals
I did.
crawling.
So, you know, you see the, kind of the rooftop of the existing house, whatnot. So they're proposing a new home, working with the topography, inclusive of an ADU, although the ADU, again, is not in your purview. But you know, it's a little different style. They do have been responsive to staff's suggestions relative to treatment of retaining walls and pony walls and large expanses of foundation. So I mean, from a visual standpoint, along the street, you're not going to see a whole lot. I think they've minimized grading, so they've worked with the hillside on this. And I think they are, how many, I don't know if they're even taking out any trees. There was 2 trees.
4 significant oak trees measuring 28 to 40 inches.
So,
It says 4 on
but
here.
again, if you look at the lot, again, you know, the whole bottom half of it is pretty forested, and clearly, you know, we like to minimize that, but again, you know, this is a much smaller house that was built, I think in the late 60s, early 70s, so the opportunities for expansion are there, and I don't know, I think it works well with the lot. So, and there really is kind of a mix of homes along Greenwood as you go, and then there are a couple of these lots that have a lot of slope. So they've been, the development standards were modified due to the slope. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
I have a question. Do we have a materials board?
It's just
You know, I forgot to remind them, but, you know, they have the standing middle seam roofing, dark gray. On the page after the application is their materials. So it's, you know, it's probably more like well, how would you describe the kind of a farmhouse type?
Yeah.
Board and batten and,
Board and bat, yeah.
yeah. So.
If I may.
Just one moment. We're going to
Oh, I'm
finish this
sorry, I
up.
called her.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. All right.
The architect.
All right.
But, yeah, I forgot to remind them to bring the actual materials.
Okay.
My fault, sorry.
Gotcha. All right.
And you said that the ADU, we don't need to
Yeah,
worry
I
about
mean,
that. We're not.
it's on the plans, but you really can't speak to it.
It's attached, isn't it?
It's an attached ADU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, anybody else have any more questions for Jeannie?
No.
Okay. Now, would the owner or
Sorry.
Apologies for jumping the
representative like to
gun.
come up and speak on this?
I filled out a card just in case, but
Oh, so you're
Yes.
the architect?
Oh, okay.
Or no?
yeah. Well, my name is Rebecca Pollard. I represent the architect.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And as Jeannie said, this is a very steeply sloped lot. We kept the site in consideration as much as possible. You know, we tried to save as many trees as possible and not create too large of an impact anywhere, while still getting, you know, a decent sized house as best we could. And I would be very happy to answer any questions that you have of me. You mentioned the aesthetic, the materials. We were going for an upscale farmhouse look.
Okay.
So
Got board
be-
and batten.
yes, with some stucco to differentiate between the stories.
Are there any landscape plans, or it's just the house?
It's pretty much just a house. We have no official landscape plans, and we're touching as little of the ground as possible.
Just wondering.
Yes, thank you.
So the 2 trees that are proposed to be removed, those are currently one's kind of growing through the deck out there in the back, right? That's one of them?
Yes,
And then the other one is just off the deck?
yes.
kinda.
But how, so it says on here 4 significant.
Well,
oak
I
trees
think they're
and-
multi-trunk or something.
so it's
Yeah,
just
one's
2
almost like a bush.
clumps. Okay.
It's just not,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So there's really only 2 trees.
2.
Although there might be
It's this
multi-trunk.
bit right
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Just those 2 on the back deck. Okay, great. Thanks. Anybody else? All right. You all looked at it, right?
It's a tough site.
Yeah.
They did a pretty good job.
I'm surprised it didn't even really look that much bigger than the existing house with the netting. I mean,
Yeah.
Tucked in there. I think
it's
no
double
one
the
could ever-
size, but
no
it's
one
so
could ever
down in there,
complain,
you don't
yeah.
really notice it. And the trees that they're talking about removing,
There's so many trees on that lot.
I wish we had more to comment on, but I don't really have anything. It looks nice.
Yeah, it looks
job.
nice.
Okay, let's vote on it. Anybody like to make a motion?
I move that we vote to approve the plans as submitted.
I
All in
second it.
favor?
Second.
Aye.
Oh, second?
Oh. We're really jumping
Now,
here.
Sorry.
all in
I don't,
favor?
I'm in favor. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it, 4-0. Yeah,
Good luck with your project.
very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 5, 18220 Bancroft Avenue. Can you give us a little rundown on that, Jean?
Okay, so this is, where am I here? A demolition of an existing home and construction of a new home. The age of the existing home is such that I did have the applicants do a historic analysis, and that came back that there is no historical or architectural significance to the existing home. So it can continue to be exempt from CEQA. That being said, they're proposing to construct the new home much larger. The existing home is pretty small. And with that, they are proposing to remove a decent number of trees. However, again, there is a lot of trees on the site. They are trying to minimize grading as much as practical. And again, let's see. Forgot to remind them to bring a materials board, but they have the colored elevations on sheet A 4.2. Again, a simple ranch style with metal roof and stucco siding. They did respond to staff's request that they treat the retaining wall in the front, again, that's carrying the driveway up with a stone face to kind of fit within the natural landscape. And the architect is in here, as well as I believe the property owners. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
I don't have any questions for Jeannie.
No, I don't have any questions either.
I have questions.
Okay, would the applicant or representative like to come up and speak? Louis?
Louis Liu, architect. I do have the material board, or
Oh.
picture of it. Is it possible to put the site plan up on the
I don't know how to work that.
Figure it out. Go
That's
ahead.
all new.
And I also,
That's all new. We can pass it
Okay, I can
around,
pass it.
and that has to use transparencies. We're kind of old in new tech, but
Yeah,
not
we're
trained on new
tweeners.
tech, sorry.
Okay, well, let me try this. I just have a site plan that shows the overall site with the setback lines.
Great, thanks.
So as you can see, the site is pretty heavily wooded. The arborist report, when it came back, said there were 52 trees. Most of the trees are at the back of the site. And the front, there's a line of trees around the front, and the property in general is pretty well screened. If you drive by, you can barely see the house that's there now. We are proposing a single-story home, so the footprint for that is going to be a little bit larger than a two-story home. And because there are so many trees on the site, it's difficult to find a buildable area because we're kind of limited by the trees. So with that, when we were doing the arborist report, we spoke to the arborist about a couple of the trees that were near the existing house. And he pointed out that, because the existing house is so close to a couple of the trees, when you take the house out, you're actually making the tree unstable and also potentially damaging the health of the tree. So, initially we really wanted to keep all the trees, and we did probably 2 or 3 plans that tried to keep them, but none of the plans were very satisfactory. So, after speaking to arborists, we came to the conclusion that we had to take a couple of trees out. The one tree, which is tree number 6, which is the biggest one on there, that has a very large root zone, and that's really close to the existing house. And that's the tree that the arborist stated would be in danger if we took the existing house out. So we took that one out, and then we took the other grove of trees that's to the left of the house as you face it from the street. We took that little grove out. That's a little grove of oak trees that are kind of growing sideways and not the best shape. And so by removing these trees, we're able to put the house on the fairly level area of the site, reduce the grading. And then also we moved it forward from the trees in the rear so that now those trees have more room to grow. And so I'm referring to the trees at the rear of the house, not the very rear of the property. So that was the concept. This is the site plan that shows where the house is situated. This is, I call this the front, and probably the rear trees. The back part is really kind of. So we're taking out this tree here and this clump here, and these trees here then have more.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And so I believe Sam and Lee's have talked to their neighbors, and they're okay with removing the trees. So the house itself is fairly simple, single story, simple gable forms. It's in a U shape, which creates a little courtyard in the back. And again, the idea was to kind of take advantage of the existing trees that were there to create a little courtyard space in the rear of the house. Other than that, if you have any questions, I'm available for questions.
No questions from me. Anybody? Okay. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you very much.
Would anybody else like to come up and say anything? Nope. Okay. All right, we'll bring it back to the commission here and talk amongst ourselves. I love the architecture. I have no problem with the building. It's awesome.
I think it's
I'm
beautiful.
a big fan of Louis Lou's work. I totally appreciate the difficulties presented by the trees. The little clump in front is just kind of a scraggly little clump there. I don't care about that. The one on the far right is already right up against the foundation of the carport or something back there, I think.
You can come in.
Are you here on the Greenwood Road?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it done?
Yeah, it's done.
Oh, dear.
So we can talk afterwards.
Okay. After one meeting, what?
After the meeting.
After the meeting?
Yeah, maybe in about another 15, 20 minutes.
All goes well.
Are the people who are outside, they belong to Greenwood Road?
No. Nobody came for
We're
greener
here,
good.
here for a tree.
So, we'll-
To kill the tree.
Single tree, tree killers.
We're in the tree murder portion of it.
No, I'm in agreement with you, Steve. It's very similar to what the Zenaris did down the street.
Yeah.
It looks great on.
Yeah, I did notice that the Zenaris were right next door when I was
Yeah.
there. Yeah. I kind of, it's a little bit of a shame that that tree number 6 is in the way, because it appears to be a gorgeous tree, but if you kept that tree and then had to probably not build within the drip line, doesn't leave much left. So I kind of get, why you guys want to take that out. It's a tough spot right there. But then, when I see something like this, I always have to look at the overall picture, and there are a ton of trees on that
There are
property,
a ton
lots
of
of beautiful trees. So, you take one out, others grow or expand to fill the spot. So,
So you're not saying replacement trees?
I don't. There's so many. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe maybe some trees up front. Do you guys have a landscape plan developed or anything? Oh, okay. Is that? I'm sorry. I didn't
It's
see
in,
that.
it's on A12, or A1.2, excuse me.
1.2, yeah.
You see a box, 24-inch box in the front, and
Okay,
two on
so
the
they
side.
got-
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I somehow missed that.
Yeah.
So there's 3 trees being added.
Okay. Yeah, so that's good. So, like I said, my initial reaction was, too bad they got to take that out, but I get it after looking at it a little more in depth. So I really can't object to it. The house is super cool. I like it a lot. Yeah, that's all I have to say on
I
that.
have nothing to add.
All right, with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve as submitted.
First this time. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck with your project.
Good luck.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Sam. Yeah. All right. Finally, we have item 6, 17611 Blanchard Drive. You want to give us a little rundown on that?
Okay, so this, for all practical purposes, is a
New house?
demolition and a new home. They will be, keeping some of the existing foundation, but to support walls. But it's a new home. This is one of the smaller lots on Blanchard, and is subject to the R18 zoning district because of its size. So it's limited to a smaller home. I think there are 3 lots in a row right here that are like the small cluster of small lots. They are proposing a single-story home. Again, I think sensitive to the scale of the other homes along Blanchard. They are utilizing the development standards of the R18 zoning district, so they have 6-foot side setbacks. And it is adjacent to a lot that is subject to the R120, so that's might be a little frustration between property owners, but it's of no fault of I think this property. It's just because its minimum lot size is closer to the R18 minimum lot size.
That's the one to the right of it as you face it?
As you're facing it, the one to the right is
Okay.
subject to the R120.
Right.
The one to the left is subject to the R18 also. So, and, basically, it meets all the development standards. And you are seeing, there is a mix of architecture along Blanchard. You are seeing a lot of homes now. I think the last two had standing seam metal roofs. So that's a typical
trend.
material that's being used now with the stucco and kind of, that sleek, modern ranch type design. They are proposing to take out a couple of trees. There's not a whole lot on this property. There's more to the rear. There's that one large tree to the front. And again, I think with respect to the larger tree in the front, although its trunk is outside of the footprint, it's always questionable to build within the root zone and the drip line of it. So if you didn't, you'd really be pushing that home back, and there's not a whole lot of, again, room to the rear to make up that space. But at any rate, it meets the development standards of the R18.
And what's the maximum allow square footage?
It's, for a single story, it's 3,300 plus additional. They have.
The 10% bump over, what is it, 10,000 square feet?
1,424 over 10,000, so it's that 1,424 times 0.15. So they get additional square footage over.
Okay, so they're fine at their 3,500?
Yeah. And again, they do have an attached accessory dwelling unit as part of this, but that's really not in your purview. So I have them continue to include it on the plans. Some think it's a little awkward, but it is what it is. But it's not like you can have much say on that part of the design.
Right.
Because even if we didn't include it, they could come in later and do the building permit. So I think it's just makes sense to have it.
Is there a planning reason why there's a carport?
That's just what they're
That's
proposing.
just what they proposed. Okay.
I mean, per the accessory dwelling unit regulations,
They don't have to have
they're not
parking.
required
I
if
get
it's
that.
an attached.
I get that.
Was there an arborist report with this?
So again, I think the location of the tree is such that
It's really just that one in the front, the 28-inch.
Yeah.
There's two in the front, right? Those big
Right.
Yeah.
firs or whatever.
One falls within
Theodore
the
Cedar.
boundary of the new residence.
Theodore Cedar.
Okay, are the two cedar tree, I'm looking at the
The
letters.
loquat cedar and the two
Yeah,
cedars.
so if you're facing the lot, the two deodar cedars are to your left in the front.
Right.
So there's no landscape.
Does anybody have any additional questions
No, for Jeannie.
for Jeannie?
I do.
Would you like to, do you want to ask her, or do you want to,
No, I think these are zoning, et cetera,
yeah,
questions.
I mean, it's kind of out of our purview.
That's what I want to, just
Yeah.
another letter about story poles and 6 feet and property line markings, that is not we don't deal with that.
No, I mean,
I just want to make sure we're discussing what needs to be discussed and not wasting time on things that
yeah,
don't
they,
pertain
I
to
mean,
us.
they are going to need to stake the property.
So there's no survey that's been done on this property at this point? Oh, yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah, you'll get a chance.
they'll-
Just a second.
So when the property is staked,
We're familiar with this.
whatever is built has to be based off that property line.
Okay.
Familiar.
So,
Yeah.
and if there are conflicts, it's
Complicated.
private property issue.
Yeah, and everything, as far as the setbacks and coverage, all that is in compliance, and
Yeah,
it's not
that's-
really
yeah.
Okay,
for
so
us
that,
to
And,
decide.
and through the building permit process, you know, they'll have to be certified by an engineer.
Right,
okay, okay,
That's-
thank you.
all right. So I'm going to ask if anybody in the audience would like to come up and speak.
I'm Anita Hunter, I'm the owner. And, but I think you are going in the right direction there. I'm not asking for anything that is not in the plan. I didn't take it to the max because even on an ADU, I could have gone 900 square feet detached, and I didn't want to take up any more of the land. So I'm not really maxing out. The trees in the front, they're so messy. I have rats in the house. They're climbing from the tree onto the house. It's hitting the house. It's time to take those out as well, and they're not really all that beautiful. I'm certainly open to even replacing trees and adding some other ones. In fact, I would like to, just to, put something pretty in the front. We had discussed in planning maybe putting a crepe myrtle or something with flowers, a jacaranda. So really open to that. It just would make it look pretty. It is probably the smallest lot on the street, so I was hoping to do something really attractive. The carport there I thought would be a great addition for the ADU, and although that's the reason for that's there because of the ADU that's there. And like I said, I also wanted it to be a one-story, so originally I thought I could do it as a remodel, just keep what was there, and you said I couldn't do that as a remodel, but I was trying to keep it as one story, not go to public hearing, and be just a really nice, fresh house.
Great. Is there a landscaping plan?
So it's such small. We had talked about possibly doing a conditional approval, and I was just going to put grass in the front, and there's not much to do. It's kind of a small lot, but there.
Understood. But you've seen. I don't know if you have seen. We've got some criticisms, obviously, of it, and they're principally concerned about removing some of these trees, and I suspect they provide some screening between the neighboring lots and yours. And if we were to approve your application as submitted, I'd be curious to know whether there's any plans for screening in a landscape plan or something that we would know about as a condition to approval tonight.
On the right side of the property, there's those oleanders that are screening that go all the way out to the curb, actually. I could do something like that to give their screening. The left property actually has two enormous redwood trees on their property. God, they're huge, and so they're in conflict actually with these pine trees that are there. So, but whatever they like. I mean, a hedge, screening. They could pick the tree.
Is this an investment property for you? Are you going to flip this?
No, I've lived there. Yeah.
And, a lot of times you all don't have to deal, well, Heather lives in the smaller lot areas.
Steve.
Yeah, that's
Full
right.
disclosure.
Yeah, we live very close to you.
Oh, you do? Where do you live?
We live on
6-foot
Palos Verdes and Poppy.
setbacks are a
Okay,
challenge
good.
sometimes when you put in screening landscaping, but there are shrubs that can grow very vertical. No bamboo, but again, within a 6-foot area, if you were to keep a 4-foot path and wanted, you can 1.5 to 2 feet. So if the commission was so inclined to, want to see something like that, although privacy is not an inherent right, it is something that could soften the interface between, basically that zoning line.
Yeah, I
6-foot
think there is a
setback
lot
to
of
15-foot setback.
I think there's a lot of screening there already, even with those trees. I think their objection perhaps is more so is they've enjoyed a bigger setback, or my house was set back a lot further for a long time, and all of a sudden I'm getting closer because that little tiny house there is 1,300 square feet, and
I
it's
think
getting bigger, and I think that's
the
more
case
so.
on both sides. Again,
Yeah,
it's
they're,
kind
they're
of-
6 feet off the property line.
They are correct on the left. I'm doing the
yours
same.
Exact same thing they're doing, yeah.
In addition to that, they put a fence up a few years ago without asking me, and just it was up because my property was staked even at that time when the Westfall did the survey on the property, and the orange, corners were there, and they used them and put the fence up, and there it was. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Thanks for doing that. But they didn't object to the orange marks in the that were there when they put the fence. So I think it was just that the house is getting closer to them, and nobody wants that, right? I understand, but I'm just doing what their setbacks are as well. It's the same.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I would kind of like to see some nod to some landscaping.
I think it needs a landscape plan because we've had this issue with other houses. For instance, the one on Bruce that's got an orange tree and a lawn. Like it just, especially because it's such a small lot and then the other ones are all so big, it needs a more extensive landscape plan, I think, for approval.
And this can be something that can be approved or reviewed at staff level. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to come back to us, right?
I mean, you're on a lot this small. You're not going to see me supporting plant another deodar cedar.
No.
I mean, no more redwoods.
Not asking
No, nothing
for
like
that.
that. But the landscape type trees that whether it be a
Crepe
jacaranda,
myrtle.
redwood pear, crepe myrtle.
And maybe a
know,
little bit of softening from like
something.
lawn to street
Yeah.
or whatever.
So to
The
at
other-
least start it
yeah.
out that way.
The other thing I'm not a fan of is the carport. I think it just makes the house look really unbalanced. If they want a third car garage, that's fine.
Close that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, my concern with something like that, it tends to be a catch-all for stuff.
Yeah. And
And
nothing.
like Alex, just throw it there and there it is.
So you'd rather see
I'd
another.
rather see the third car garage,
third
even
car.
though I can't stand the whole face of a house being garage, but the carport doesn't do anything for it either.
The frontage is big enough that, and that would be actually set back a little
Yeah,
bit
it's
too.
set back a couple
So it
feet.
wouldn't just be a wall of garage door, right? Is that what
Yeah.
right? What's the minimum, is there a minimum depth for a single car garage?
18 feet.
18 feet?
Well,
But no one can park a car
it's
in
10
that.
by 20. It's 10 by 20,
Yeah.
but this wouldn't be a required space. So
So it could be a
they
storage
could
space.
make it whatever size.
But I don't want to make her install a garage that she can't use as a garage.
Right.
Him, he's the head honcho.
You can, I can reopen it if you like. If you'd like to come back up and speak.
Yeah,
that's
we're
fine.
not-
Yeah.
I think that as storage, I mean, really, that's fine too. I mean, it's just, if it's not open and I'm allowed to do that closed, I think that would be useful to a lot of people.
Planning wise, does she have the square footage to do it?
Um,
So it doesn't count towards the square footage now, even though it's roofed and two-sided?
well, that's a good question.
I thought it had to be
Any
one side.
attached stuff, if it was enclosed, even if it wasn't required parking, it would count towards the square footage.
Can it be a facade on the front just to make it look balanced
Anything
and
that's-
open on the right?
Anything that's enclosed on 3 sides.
Counts
So-
towards square footage.
Mhm. So, I don't know.
So that's why it's there.
She always put a tarp in
Yeah.
front of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we can't, we don't know Jeannie, is that what we're saying?
No, she
Just
can't
off
do
the
it.
cuff?
That's why it's there.
Cannot do it, okay.
Can do, have a 3,513 square foot. She gets 3,300 for a single story plus an additional 213. So,
Garage? Is that what you're saying?
No, you get an additional bump if you're over 10,000 square feet. It's the
In the lot
additional square
size.
footage times 0.15.
Gotcha, gotcha.
and she's got, she's pretty much at that.
Maxed
34.
out.
It's maxed out.
That's why there's.
That's why we have a carport.
Got it,
I think it's.
gotcha. I mean, if the carport wasn't there and the roof line followed that edge of the building, what would the difference be? Still park a car there,
Yeah.
right?
I think it'd be better if it weren't road.
But it would still be a parking space,
Yeah.
and then it would just be covered or uncovered.
And they can't store things out in the open. There's limitations on what you can do, so.
Really?
That doesn't seem to apply.
I mean, you can't,
Code
it
enforcement.
can't be visible from the street. So if
Oh.
they start storing, a bunch of stuff there, it
I mean, in all
they can be
likelihood,
told to,
I didn't know
Put
we
it-
had a code for that.
yeah, it's kind of a,
Of course Monte Sereno has a
Yeah.
code for that.
Lesser
Oh.
enforced.
Well, I think since you can't do another enclosed spot, whether it's open or open up top or not,
that's where I'm leaning.
yeah.
I mean, if
It's
we were,
not the
if we were to,
ideal
if we were to say
situation, but-
no carport and then the roof line follows that,
Yeah.
it's still a parking space.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not covered at that
covered.
point. And what's the benefit? Maybe someone's less likely to throw stuff there and store whatever, because it's not covered.
I just think it's a bad aesthetic, but that's me.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you, but I don't think it's enough for
Don't
me
think
to,
it's enough.
Not a deal breaker.
it's not a
So-
deal breaker for me, that's what I'm saying, right?
These plans were prepared by a guy in Kentucky. Has he been out here?
Yeah, so
Kind of a
Jason,
weird,
who's
weird
actually
local business.
listening
yeah.
right now, too.
Okay. Hi,
So,
Jason.
yeah, so he's done a lot of work out here. In fact, I think the majority of his work is here. He went to Kentucky because his family was there and his dad was sick.
Okay.
So he can work out of his home there.
So he's been to the site.
Oh, yeah, he went
Okay.
to Lee High School out here. And he's
Okay.
From the Bay Area. He lived in San Jose, and yeah.
We don't get a lot of plans from Kentucky.
Yeah, no,
I
he's,
didn't notice
he's,
that.
he's San Jose.
Okay.
Well, I'm inclined to approve it, but with the caveat that there needs to be a landscaping plan. What I don't want to see happen is this nice new home go in and it's just
A lawn.
and concrete out there. There needs to be something more than that. And from these plans, that looks like all it is, just a big concrete driveway and a lawn in front. So if you'd be willing to, put together a landscaping plan for G
Yeah.
to
And
review.
we had talked about just doing that as a condition, and then if anyone had a particular, item they liked, we could put in. It's,
No, she's got a good eye.
yeah, she had some good
Don't
stuff.
have any- I mean, there's been a couple new homes built where they build the house and they're done
And that's it.
and then there's weeds growing out front. It's like, they just didn't quite finish.
Oh,
it.
there's weeds growing out front now, actually, the gophers.
And nice
Yeah.
homes with nice architecture, but they just
Yeah.
didn't address the landscape.
Okay, that is definitely fair.
So, Any more discussion here?
I appreciate that we've looked at metal roofs. I'm not a big fan of it. There's not any on this street. But it is a trend, and I'm not going to hold this up based on that. I wish there was less of it in relationship to the carport, but I realize that that may be an unavoidable consequence of the design because of space constraints on the lot and what she can build out. So with the condition that a landscaping plan be submitted and that there be at least 3 replacement trees included in that as the 3 to be removed, I would support the plans as submitted.
That effect.
I move that we accept the plans as submitted with the condition that a landscaping plan be submitted that includes at least 3 trees for the 3 to be removed, and really encourage you to talk to your neighbors. Getting these emails that you haven't talked to them, I just don't understand how anybody plans to improve their property and not talk to the neighbors first.
Well, we had in the past, and so I'm kind of surprised to get that.
Okay,
listed.
well, maybe this is a
Yeah.
misrepresentation. If it is, I apologize. But when you do this landscaping plan, I would encourage you at least to talk to the neighbors as well, please.
Okay,
Say,
definitely.
hey, look, this is what we're doing. to
Because
kinda
then it's a
soften it up.
no-brainer. It's easy
Yeah.
for us.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's my motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I have a lot of reservations.
silent
but-
aye. I know, I do too.
I besides
It's
the carport.
not ideal.
All right.
Okay, congrats.
So that passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe a nice mural on the back of that. of
I
that
think we
carport.
need to change our code.
Well, you mean just a edge screen here to kind of close that end off?
Just adds bulk to the whole house. The house is already large for the lot, but it's a code thing.
It's a code thing.
Well, yeah, it's kind of
works.
tough. It's a NIMBY thing. The neighbors have it. Why can't she? Right? Okay.
Okay, you want to
Okay.
close us off?
Where are we here? I guess it's time to adjourn. So, oh,
You get to talk to
You need personally.
your banner passed.
Yeah.
well,
Can we do
thank
that?
you.
I just want to revisit that to see what I'm saying.
That's highly unusual, but
Yeah, we've
Not
already.
entirely sure it's fair to the
Yeah,
applicant.
unfortunately, the public hearing's been closed.
Yeah.
I think I have an understanding of her issues, so I know what I can talk to her about.
okay. Yeah, I apologize, but that
If I want to talk to my representative, because there's a formality, public hearing, not public hearing, I don't talk to you guys, I don't understand.
well, there was a public hearing.
It doesn't have to be on record, just so you hear me.
Okay, well, how about we're going to close the meeting,
Okay.
and if you want to talk to us,
You want to talk
that's
to us
fine.
afterward? We'll stick around. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this meeting is adjourned.
Well done.